Hey everyone, welcome to episode 9 of Cloud Conversations with Rue and Pete, or Pete and Rue, or however we label it, I can't really remember. I'm joined, as always, with my partner in crime, Peter Rising. Peter, how's it going?
Hey, Rue, I'm very well. How are you today?
Yeah, all good, all good. And enjoying the heat. It's usually not this hot in Scotland, and I'm kind of dying. So it's not bad.
Yeah. We've had crazy weather in the UK over the last few weeks. Been lots of rain, but now it's warming up. But hopefully the good weather will be with us now. But we always complain about the weather, whatever it is, don't we? But we are absolutely thrilled and delighted to welcome our guest, Laurie Pottmeyer, to the show. So, Laurie, hey, how are you today? Welcome.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It's a pleasure to see you, and we appreciate you giving us your valuable time because we know how busy you are. So, welcome. If you just like to take the time to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, what it is you do, and how you've got to where you are today. That would be awesome.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Laurie Pottmeyer, and I'm the community lead. I sit in Microsoft Teams engineering, and I've been at Microsoft for about 17 years technically, but almost 16 as a full-time employee. And I started here as working. I've always been in unified communications, and I started working with live meeting, and that's around the time we still had LCS, and we were kind of moving to OCS. So I always like to say that because it dates me in a fun way. You know, we can be dated by our products. But I've always been in unified communications, and it's been really fun to run various programs and be a part of different feedback programs, working directly with our customers through adoption programs, and now being on the Teams team since we went GA a few years ago as the community lead. So really exciting job. I love what I do and connecting with all of you.
Oh, fantastic! And Teams, what a product to be involved with. What a time to be involved in Microsoft. And is there in your role at the moment, Laurie? Is there such a thing as a typical day in the life of a senior program manager and community manager for Microsoft Teams? Or is that a silly question?
That's an interesting question. No, there is not a typical day in the life. I will tell you that every day is very, very different for me. I mean, I have a lot of the same things that I do every day in and day out. And of course, you know, my job has responsibilities that I have to complete day in and day out. But the typical day for me is starts with Teams, believe it or not. And, one of the things that I love about Teams is that activity pane, because the first thing that I do when I come in the morning is check the activity pane and see where I've been tagged. Because I have so many different teams that I'm a part of, as I'm sure many of you do as well, that it can be really overwhelming. And, you know, when we just had email, now we have email and Teams, but when we just had email, it was really easy to come in the, you know, beginning of the day and just kind of go through your emails and either file them away, delete them, or respond, mark them as follow-up. You know, we just kind of had that there. And with Teams, there's so many things going on. And so, you know, what I do is I treat that activity pane as the inbox. What are the things that I need to know about, and what things can wait, or what are just FYIs. And my chats, I kind of look at as an email that was sent directly to me, whereas the mentions I kind of look at as more as an FYI, or sometimes there is an action for me, but you know, I always look at that chat first as kind of the things that I need to follow up on right away. So I come in and I kind of start with those. Okay, what does everybody need? What is kind of top of mind for everybody? And then I am working on a variety of things. So as part of community lead, what I do is I run our MVP program from within Microsoft Teams engineering. So I work with all of our MVPs, connecting them with our engineering team. And so, you know, that entails just daily moderation of the team that we have and making sure that questions are answered, as well as doing things like setting up events. So in March, we have MVP Summit, and this fall we'll have Airlift, which are both events that we do for our MVPs. And so those are kind of 2 times a year I'm doing that. When we have events like Build or Ignite, I'm busy getting MVPs involved with that, setting up feedback sessions with our different communities. And then another piece of my job is working with user groups and community events around the world. And so oftentimes I'm speaking or attending, whether that's virtually right now and hopefully soon in person. But I'm constantly meeting with event organizers, user group organizers, talking with them about what they need, how we can help them with their event, whether that's finding speakers to attend or helping them find a external speaker for their call for speakers, determining how we can help promote those events. And then we also, as part of my job, I manage the Microsoft Tech community. So that's our online community where people can ask questions and get their questions answered. And so, we work to make sure that all of those questions are answered. And, I think we have like a 96.7% answer rate. So it's really important to us that we're engaging regularly with our customers and community members. And so day to day, it's a mix of, lots and lots of meetings. And one thing that has really saved me, or not saved me, but just really helped my day is by having 10-minute starts. So we go into a meeting 10 minutes into the hour. Instead of a 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock meeting, we have a 9:10 to 10 o'clock meeting. And that extra 10 minutes or 5 minutes in between 30-minute meetings is just an opportunity to get up and, get a glass of water, take the dog out, whatever, and, or just respond to emails. Because I find that with meetings all day long, it's really hard to keep up on the work. So if I don't want to work all night long too, it's important that I sneak some of that in throughout the day. So yeah, is there a flow to every day? No, it's always different, and it's always based on the meetings that I have. But those are the types of things that I'm working on a regular basis.
Awesome. Good stuff. I love that idea of the 10-minute kind of wait time before you start a meeting, because if you can't fit something into 50 minutes and think it needs 60 minutes, you're just going to waste those extra 10 minutes. However much time you give yourself, you're going to use all that. So that's nice. And I guess it's one of the amazing things really since the pandemic and the lockdowns and things like that. Teams has gone bananas, quite frankly, in the adoption and how it's really saved, in large part, the economy in some ways. When did it kind of sink in to you guys in the Teams team that, wait a second, this is now a life-changing product for folks rather than just something they use for work?
I think that for most of us, when the pandemic first hit in February and March last year, we were all just responding with, oh my gosh, what do we do? What's going on? It was kind of, I think we're all in a fog just in our own personal lives as to how this is affecting our families and how this is affecting our communities. And what's interesting for me is that it wasn't just something that was happening here in Portland, Oregon, in my own town. This was, so much bigger than that, with everybody in the world impacted. And so I think we're all dealing with just our own personal, how is this affecting me and my little bubble? And I personally wasn't as focused on, wow, we're going to change the world, by working on this product. But, it very quickly, we very quickly went into action with, how do we scale? How do we make sure that everybody in the world has the ability to be in touch with the people that they need to be in touch with, whether that's their family and friends or, businesses or, first line workers, people on the front lines, emergency services. How do we make sure that we're enabling everybody to keep doing as much as they're able to keep doing virtually? And so, I think after, that initial just panic, that everybody was in. And, from our side, just being able to keep quality where it needed to be for everybody to function. And everybody is aware, I'm sure, of, we had to kind of turn some things off, and we had some limited features there for a while we were able to respond, right? While we kicked things into action to be able to support and to be able to scale. And, we did a fairly good job acting quickly with that. And, the other piece is, how do we, once things kind of got stable and we were able to scale and keep quality where it needed to be, then how do we continue to give people the features that they want and need? And that very much changed with the pandemic. So the things that we saw in user voice and the things that we were hearing from our customers through the months leading up to the pandemic changed drastically once the pandemic hit, because we had a very different use case all of a sudden. So the things that were important to people before were not any longer important to people. And things like being able to see everybody on video, we had 3x3, it was very important all of a sudden for people to see everybody on video. We had a lot of different, a huge escalation, with our education customers. And so, there were a lot of requirements there for students, and how do we respond to that now that, virtually 100% of people were attending school virtually. So yeah, a lot of changes happened very, very quickly, and we had to respond. And I think, probably wasn't up until, when things kind of stabilized after a few months where we were all able to take a breath and be like, wow, that was crazy. And now we're maintaining those numbers and, even increasing. And now it's time to really innovate. And I think that's what you've seen at Ignite, and now this week at Build, is just all the things that we're doing to continue to innovate, as well as, keep making sure that we're scaling and that quality is consistent.
Oh, fantastic. And what a journey Teams has been on, though, even before the pandemic. It's hard to believe that it is a 4-year-old product. It seems like in so many ways, in good ways, it's been around forever. It's been with us for so long, but it really hasn't. And the journey it's been on has just been utterly phenomenal. So with that in mind, what would you say? Would you be able to share with us a feature that you can share with us that you are potentially most excited about what's to come with Teams on the horizon? Is there anything that jumps out immediately as the next big thing in Teams?
The next big thing. This is always the question that I have to be really careful to answer.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this.
I think for me, what's most exciting is some of the structured meeting scenarios. The presenter control that we're able to give. Again, I mentioned EDU and our education and so many of the teacher-student features that are so important, but that translates into the structured meeting scenario, which is what I like to call it, where you may have one-to-many, but you still want it to be interactive. And so there's times where you need to turn off chat, or there's times where you need to force mute everybody. And there's also different meeting reports that you need, because you may be tracking interactions, or you may be tracking participation. So for trainings and workshops, you want to know who's there. For me, it's particularly important because of the programs that I run. So I want to know who's attending and for how long they're there and how much are they participating. And so a lot of those reports that are coming up, and the ability to kind of change the structure of a meeting without having it be a live event. I want a lot of those features that are in live events to have more control. And I think you'll see a lot of that coming, already with PowerPoint Live and a lot of the different presenter controls that you're seeing. That's really what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, totally agree. Because one of the things that I think all three of us went through recently was Teams Nation, the virtual conference, and I was very impressed with the way that they were able to use really just native Teams meetings, and then use some of those new controls, forcing everyone to be on mute and things like that. And it really made it, as a presenter, very hassle-free experience. I just showed up like it was a normal meeting, And it was it removed some of the stress that I might have had from thinking, oh, this is a live event, this is going to be different, I need to prepare for it. So I guess for both presenters and even folk attending, it made it very straightforward, because for them, it was just another meeting. It was a great meeting, though. And I think everyone had a lot of fun that day.
It was a great event, wasn't it? And I hear you had a pretty decent moderator as well, Rue.
He was okay. Yeah, he did a decent job. Yeah.
Was he all right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah. I guess in thinking more about things such as Teams Nation, and there's so many Teams conferences and things like that, conferences across the whole Microsoft 365 world. And Pete and I on this show, we talk about the community, as a whole, quite a lot on the show. I was just wondering, what are your kind of thoughts in general on the community? What does it mean to you? And I guess, how does Microsoft directly get involved with that? You mentioned things such as that response rate on the tech community forums and things like that.
Okay, say that again.
Yeah, I've got a propensity to just throw hundreds of questions at you. So I guess, if we think about the tech community and things like that, how does Microsoft get involved with that? So, you mentioned things such as the response rate. How important is it that you keep that conversation going with end users and IT pros and all these types of people?
Yeah. So our entire engineering org actually has a metric around being customer driven. And so for Microsoft Teams. So, and so a lot of what you'll see is, not just answering the questions in there, but really involving the community, whether that's customers and partners and MVPs and people who have submitted feedback and user voice. Including all of those different groups in the planning process. So having conversations about their use cases and why things are important and how they're important, and what if they don't have something, how does that impact them? But then also understanding their scenarios so that we can build the product for what makes the most sense. So, I've talked about building the product in a vacuum, and we definitely don't want to be building Teams in a vacuum the way that we think that it should behave. So it's really important for us to have sessions where we can talk to people who are actually using the product. And so we have different things that we do to do that. And, one is the Microsoft Tech Community, where we're able to answer questions and just see what people are dealing with when they have issues. And that's a great place for us to take not only feedback, but just listening to the issues that people are having, struggles, their experiences, and then sharing that with our team members who are building those features. But then also, having feedback sessions and talking to these different communities about their scenarios, about what they need, about what they like and don't like, about what's what the product is today, but also the things that we're thinking about. And then we do have a program for customers to participate in early validation and testing, which we call TAP. But now we have also a public preview program. And so public preview is a really great way for us to understand what's working and what isn't working, and to get feedback on new features prior to it going GA or general availability. So that's been really valuable as well, and that's run out of our team. Super important for us to get real world experiences prior to getting it out to the rest of the world. So it's definitely a focus, and I'm so proud, just to have this role of mine, being a community lead within engineering. I think it really shows the importance of listening to community and having programs that kind of facilitate those conversations on an ongoing basis.
The MTC, or the Microsoft Tech Community that you mentioned there, Laurie, is something that I hold very, very dear. It was one of the first things that I got involved in my journey with the community when I was introduced to it. And there are so many things you can do on there. You can go on and answer questions. What I try and do to do my little bit to help on there is go in and see which are the unanswered ones and go on and see if we can help out there. Or, but you can, if you don't want to do that, you can post tips and blogs on features and how you're using them. And there's other blog posts that you can put on there as well. So there's something for everyone on there. And a big shout out to Therese, who does an absolutely fantastic job on there. She's amazing. But no, I absolutely love the MTC. It's brilliant, and I encourage anyone to go on there, and the people you will meet and get involved with, it just opens up so many possibilities for you, for sure.
Yeah, it's a great place for people to get their questions answered. Absolutely. I think a lot of times when you do a search online, what you'll get is an answer that's come up in the tech community, or somebody that's had the same question as you do. And it's also, like you said, a really great place to share tips and tricks. So for people who are looking to get involved with the community and share their knowledge, really why we created the tech community is for knowledge sharing. So it's not meant to be a place to give your feedback, though we listen, we hear the feedback that's happening in there, but really we're pushing people to use your voice, or, different products use different tools, but we're pushing people to those feedback tools to listen to feedback. And then we're not using the tech community as a support mechanism either. We have answers for that. So that's really, for that kind of first level support. We don't want to get into a bunch of troubleshooting within the tech community. We just don't have people there that are there to staff it for that purpose. But the tech community is meant to be a place to share experiences, to ask those how-to questions, to share your knowledge with other people in the community. So it's been a great place for us. We have almost 215,000 members in the Microsoft tech community, just in the Teams space. So it's very, very active, and we see huge numbers on a daily basis in there.
Oh, fantastic. And one thing that I see a lot in, I want to speak to a little bit about user voice. Can you sort of share with us, what's the status of user voice at the minute? Is it alive? Is it going? Is it staying? Or if it's going, do you know what was replacing it? Because it seems like it's maybe on the way out.
Yeah, so we will be replacing user voice with another product. Once that's up and ready to go, we will be announcing that and pushing people there. But it's super important to the Teams team to have that mechanism there. So we won't have a gap once user voice goes away. We won't have user voice go away until we have a new tool there to collect feedback, because like I said, we have a ton of automation actually built into our feedback to listen and look for trends, emerging issues. So that's all very important. We look at that. We have people assigned to look at that every single day, 24 hours a day. So it's important to us that we're continuing to track that. And that's user voice is how we really learned where we needed to shift during the pandemic. And I mentioned, a lot of the feedback being X, and then all of a sudden it was Y and Z. And that's because all of a sudden we noticed these trends, we noticed differences, and, we had spikes and things, and we were like, wow, okay, this no longer is important. We need to shift gears and focus on these other features that are very important to people because of the changes. So yeah, it is very much alive and running for Microsoft Teams today. And until we have something to replace it, we are continuing to use it.
Awesome to hear. Fantastic. Because I love user voice, but and I'm looking forward to seeing where things go with that. But changing track very, very slightly, you have mentioned that you work every day with the Microsoft MVPs, and I am very, very fortunate and privileged to be an MVP myself, and I love it, and it's another thrill and a pleasure to be part of that community. But would you just share with us your experience and your perspective on the MVP program for people who are listening or watching who might know what it is? So what is it? What's it for? What type of person should be thinking about becoming an MVP?
Yeah, I actually did a session. Rui mentioned Teams Nation, and that was my session at Teams Nation. I did that alongside Ali, and we talked about kind of demystifying the MVP program, and it's something that I think a lot of people want to know. How I want to be an MVP. How do I go about being an MVP? Where's the checklist of things that I have to do? How do I apply? And, I would just say my short answer is just do what you do because you love what you do. And really, that's what makes an MVP is that, MVPs are experts in a Microsoft technology. It may be one technology that they're very deep in, or it may be a variety of technologies. And with Microsoft Teams, there's so much integration. We've got Power Platform and SharePoint. And I mean, there's just so much integration with Microsoft Teams. So typically people have multiple products that they're very involved with. And, it's important for us to get experts in security and experts with Azure. All of those different technologies are important. But it is an award that goes to people who have deep technical knowledge with Microsoft products and who share that knowledge with community. And so this is not somebody that, we have a lot of people in the world who are experts with Microsoft Teams who go and deploy it for customers, who are, technical sales and, know the product inside and out, but that's what they do for their job. But really what makes an MVP is the people that take that knowledge and those experiences that they've learned, and then they go and share that with community. So that's by sharing on social. It's by writing blogs about their experiences. What went wrong with a deployment? What did they learn? What worked well? What bot did they create that's really helped their business? It's not so much writing and speaking about features that Microsoft Teams have, because those are typically very well documented. But what are the things that you've learned as somebody who's either using Teams or deploying Teams or helping others with Teams that you've learned? Because we all learn from each other's experiences, and typically we learn from people who make mistakes because likely that you're not just the only one who's making that mistake. So, sharing experiences and your knowledge with other people, that's really what makes an MVP. And there's no magic checklist. You have to write this many blogs or, create this many bots or whatever. It's really kind of the whole big picture and really how you're making an impact. From my side and our team side and, coming from the engineering side of things, we're trying to better the product. We really want to see improvement. The usage, certainly, and by, more people knowing about the product, they'll continue to use it. But really, how do we get people to get the most out of it? And how do we make people successful with their deployments and really ease that process? And so that's what we're looking at, is really making sure that people have the education and your experiences so that they can pull from that when they're doing the same thing, and then continue, having you continue sharing that with others. So that's the MVP program. It's really, I know it can sound mysterious. What we get out of it by having MVPs is having you extend our messaging and our, the deep technical information. It's one thing to view a recording of something we do or read documentation, but you all in the community have experiences to share. And that's something that we don't have that to share. So that's really beneficial. But then the other piece is getting knowledge from you based on experiences that can provide valuable feedback to us. So what are you hearing out there? What will work, what won't work, what do people need, what don't they need as much, just kind of understanding from your perspective as working with customers who are deploying Teams and using it yourselves. That's really beneficial to us. And so having those conversations, we have a lot of those conversations with existing features, but it makes a lot of sense for us to be able to talk to MVPs at a very early stage. So, sometimes even before we've started working on something, just to make sure we're going in the right direction. And so MVPs are under an NDA, non-disclosure, so that enables us to have really frank, early conversations. And it's been a great relationship for us, and hopefully the MVPs are getting things out of it too. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And I agree completely with what you say about doing it for the love of it, and the passion that you have is exactly why I got into this. And a really good example of that recently is our good friend and colleague over at Grey Hat Beard podcast, Alan Erdley, who up until a few weeks ago was an MVP, but he's made the jump. He's a blue badge now. He's gone to the mothership, so he's now a retired MVP. And I was talking to him and saying, well, are you going to do less in the community? No, absolutely not. I'm not going to strip any of that back. We're still going to do the user groups and the blogging and do it because I love it. So, and that's what it's all about. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess just kind of thinking about that a little bit more, one of the key things when I look at MVPs that I communicate and things with is how good they are at it, but I guess they're good at it because they enjoy it. So if you're someone out there who's thinking, oh, I could get that MVP and regard it as kind of like a qualification, my understanding is, based on what I know that Pete has gone through and what you're saying, Laurie, is that it's not really a qualification. It's a recognition that someone is out there enjoying it and that they can translate, I guess, the technical stuff into real world scenarios.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, every once in a while, I'll see somebody come through the MVP process that, we're reviewing, and I can't believe that they're not already an MVP, Like, wait, I thought this person was an MVP, but they weren't. It's just I see them out there and blogging and, see them at events, and they're so involved. And, I had no idea that they were not already an MVP. So it's kind of fun when somebody like that's awarded, and it's like, oh, well, here you are, but I thought you were already here. So yeah, it's because they love it, and it's fun to see some of those that have jumped on board at Microsoft continuing to do that. Liz Senda is one as well that, a year or two ago, she came on board, but she's doing just as much as she did before she was an MVP. And yeah, we see that oftentimes. I hate losing MVPs, but I'm happy.
I guess one of the other things that comes to mind then is, so if you have this idea of what an MVP is, I don't want to say they're obsessive about the product, but they clearly enjoy it and they're passionate about it, insofar as they will probably invest a lot of their personal time communicating and really just making known what the product is and how it can help folks. I know that Microsoft as a culture, and I'm seeing this more and more, maybe since folks have started working from home and started working hybrid, is really this onus on a work-life balance, and we see things in Teams that are trying to help us improve things like that, integration with things such as Headspace and the virtual commute. How do you kind of deal with work-life balance? Because again, it's something we talk about a lot in the show because a lot of folks struggle with it.
Yeah. If anybody has it figured out, I would love to know the secret. I think, there's always these great tips and tricks about work-life balance, and I just haven't found anything that really, really works. And, I go through, weeks where I do pretty well, and then I get back into my, working too much. But, I've worked at home for the last, 7-8 years or something like that. And so for me, not never, but I haven't been going into an office and leaving my work at the office and coming home and having my life start at 5 or 6 p.m. for a really long time. So when this happened, where everybody was working at home, for me, it was just the same thing. I just wasn't traveling, which in and of itself was awful, because that was my time to get out of these four walls, was to, and see the community members and, interact with people and get to see my team and things. And it's been really hard to be at home. And now I'm feeling just this little glimmer with different events coming up that are either hybrid or in person. So I'm really, really excited to see some of those kind of taking shape and getting back out there. But, being at home and having your work right in front of you, I think, for all of us, we really struggle. It's like right now, I'm building an office out on the other side of this window outside, away from my house, because I am very excited to not be sitting on the couch and looking at my office, because, it's just, your work is always there. You're always there. It's whether you're working at the kitchen table or you have an office in your basement, or it doesn't matter. You know that it's right there. And so having that separation for me, I think will be really good. But I think, when it's worked for me, it's been figuring out a schedule and then trying to stick to that schedule. So, I'm going to get up at this time, I'm going to work out, and then I'm going to check my email and my Teams, and then I'm going to start my meetings and then go through my meetings, and then I'm done at this time. I have tried every single different getting organized to-do list that you can imagine. And same thing. I just kind of go through those as well. It's a struggle. It's a real struggle. And if, I know that people have mastered it. I just haven't. And I don't know. I don't know what the secret is, but I think it's hard for all of us. And, we're kind of been exasperated now with all of us here in our office all day.
I can relate to that, Laurie, because eagle-eyed viewers of this, if you're watching on YouTube, will notice that on pretty much every show, I've been in a different location, and I go around my house and sit wherever there's the least activity, wherever my boys are not, or where I can get the most peace and quiet. As we record this, it's about sort of 11 o'clock at night in the UK where we are right now. But so everyone's up the stairs and asleep. But during the day, I would have to go. I've actually sat in the bathroom sometimes and did this with background on, and people have not known where I've been, and sometimes I've not put the background on because you can't do it very well in this product that we're using. So I've angled it now, so you see if you can go back and watch some of the episodes. I have been in the bathroom a couple of times on this show, so but you never would have noticed the way I've angled it. But I've got to, hopefully in the coming weeks and months, I'm getting one of those garden office sheds to as my workspace, and that's going to make such a difference to me. I cannot wait.
I know.
So difficult not having that proper workspace.
Excited. I keep saying, well, I'm going to have to work for about 5 more years now to pay for it, but it's not a good space. So it is important, I think, as much as you can to kind of have a regular spot, because, especially people who didn't have an office space before the pandemic and were working at the kitchen table or the dining room table, it's just so hard because everything's right there and you never get away from it. So I have heard a lot of people, and I'm lucky enough to have a space in my house that is, conducive and it's not private, it's open to the world, but it's my own space. It is an office. But I've heard from a lot of people that makes a big difference, is to have, a dedicated space where you're going in and not having it kind of all around. So, yeah, but I think being able, my commute now will be walking out the back door, walking across the yard. And so hopefully that will create some separation.
Awesome. Oh, sounds brilliant. So just want to change track a little bit, if we could, and talk about women in tech or women in teams. And would love to ask you and get your thoughts on, would you share with us, as a woman in tech yourself, where do you feel we are right now in terms of gender parity in the tech world? Are we doing enough to support and encourage women and girls to pursue a career in tech? And what more can we all do, in your opinion, to be allies to women in the tech industry?
I come from a communications background. I went to school to be a teacher, and then I decided 2 years into my college experience that I did not want to be a teacher. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I got a degree in business and a minor in marketing. And I just decided that I would figure it out later. And so when I graduated, I started working for an event management company. So I used to travel all around the US doing large scale, big spectator events, festivals, and things. And that was really fun, but it was a lot of hard work, and it was a lot of hours and a lot of summers. And so I didn't really have my nights, weekends, and summers. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And the pay wasn't awesome. So, it was around 2000 when the market crashed, and everybody was kind of trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And I was one of them. And I was very thankful to have gotten a contract with Microsoft. And so they hired me to do, as a contractor, actually, to do some online events for live meeting. And I was terrified because I had no idea what this online virtual thing was. I, used computers for the very minimum. I think I had email and maybe some Word docs that, I really didn't use much of anything. So it was really kind of being thrown into the wolves. And I just, tried to figure it out and learning on the job, and found that I really loved technology, and it was moving so quickly every day, and the people around me were so smart, and I just loved everything about it, and have since obviously been here now for quite some time. And through my experience, it's a little bit different because I didn't go to school and get a degree in computer science, and I wasn't a minority with 90% of my class being men. In fact, I went to a women's college. So I've always been around a lot of women, and it has been a shift to be in technology where it is primarily men. But, to be honest, I didn't experience that difficult kind of schooling and getting into the business that a lot of people may have experienced, because it's not what I was trying to do. I kind of fell into where I'm at. And since I've been in my role, and especially as community manager, going out and about and being at these different events, I've really made an effort to understand, why, and try to bring women in as much as possible. The last couple of times that I traveled at the end of, 2019, I would bring some college students along with me to the events and bring them up on stage. I did that in Colombia. I did in Bogota, Colombia, and I did that in Paris, and had them come with me and just kind of shadow and see what it was all about, because I felt that it was really important to bring those young women into the experience of community, and seeing people who are passionate about technology, but not sitting behind a computer. And I think, women are inherently more social, not always, but we need that human interaction. And sometimes when you think about technology, you think about, going and sitting behind a computer and coding, and there's so much more to technology. And for me, I am an introvert, so it is hard for me to be in those situations, believe it or not. But at the same time, that's what I'm comfortable at. I'm comfortable talking to people and making human connections that then help me in my job. So I wanted to expose them to that. And that's been a really fun piece of the community experience for me, is exposing them to something a little bit different, and showing them that there's a lot of people in their local community that they can go to and lean on, and see other women being a speaker on a stage and be successful in their careers. So that's been really fun. But I also started the Women in Teams community. And so that's a monthly meeting that we have, and we have a team set up to have regular conversation in there. And the reason why I set that up is because there's so many community events and things happening, but we still see very few women putting their name in the hat to speak. They'll attend and they won't ask questions. And I use that as a blanket because that, there are definitely exceptions. There are women that are very vocal and have no problem getting on stage. But I think many women are very, very smart. They know their stuff, and they don't feel comfortable getting on a stage and speaking because they don't think that they know something enough. And that just is an issue for me. I don't like that. And so I really wanted to make sure that women not only knew what all of the opportunities were available to them, so knew what events are coming up, and know what blogs are looking for guest bloggers, and what podcasts are out there looking for speakers, and really kind of bringing awareness to those things and giving them confidence that they are worthy of applying to participate, and that they should put their name in the hat. And one way of doing that is bringing people along with you as a co-presenter, somebody that maybe isn't as confident, or having them participate in the Q&A with you. Or, I remember Ali, for instance, with the MVP program, had never spoke before. And 2 years ago, we did it at Teams Nation, which was in Teams Fest.
Yeah.
And she was, really nervous about participating. I said, just come with me. We'll just talk, because we both know this topic, and we'll just have a conversation. She's like, okay. And now she's out there speaking on her own,
Yeah.
And so it's really fun to see that. And I think that, just having a place where women can talk with one another and kind of lift each other up and ask the stupid question, which really isn't ever stupid, but just the question that you don't want to put out there for the world. And we don't talk about, just women in teams. It's not a tea party per se. There's lots of questions about experiences, women in education, or women in, manufacturing, or, whatever vertical they're in, just understanding what other experiences have been. So yeah, there's a lot of great stuff going on, and it's been really fun to be there. But to answer your initial question, we've got a lot of work to do. So thanks for bringing up the conversation.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, as you know, and I'm proud to be part of the Women in Teams community, and will do all I can to move it forward and all that. But fantastic, thank you, Laurie, for putting that together. And Ali, you're absolutely right, Ali. It's hard to imagine that she felt that way, because she's just so awesome.
Yeah.
But Rue and I were just talking before we started the show, actually, how we both think of ourselves as introverts. And interesting to see you saying the same thing. We've all got our sort of imposter syndrome and our little mind monkeys going on, haven't we? And it's hard to overcome sometimes.
Yeah. And nobody can ever believe that I'm an introvert in my role as community lead. But I will tell you, you all help me so much. When I walk into a room, I'm always terrified, but everybody in the community is so welcoming. And, as much as many of us are introverts, at least, you get to know people, and then you see a friendly face, even if you haven't met them in person, just seeing them on social or in the tech community or speaking at an event. And so I feel like now when I go to a community event, I can walk into a room and, I may recognize somebody by their Twitter profile or something, but it's much easier to have that kind of connection with people, rather than walking to a room where everybody feels like a stranger, and everybody's so, we all share a common goal of technology, and whether it's Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Technologies or whatever. So it's, there's always something to talk about too, which is great.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm finding as well is with things like Teams, it feels almost like maybe the technical barrier, but then also the social barrier for entry to a lot of these things is starting to fall, insofar as if I suffer from social anxiety, I don't need to travel. I don't need to get on an airplane and go to some massive conference and be swarmed by hundreds of people. I can jump on a Teams meeting and present that way. So I find that Teams is also helping maybe folks that would have some anxiety about getting involved, just makes it a little bit easier.
I think
that's what I'm experiencing anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right, Ru. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of the hybrid scenario too, which, for people that, maybe having to pay to go somewhere on their own, or may have, family commitments or work commitments, it's, adds a lot more flexibility. And certainly, I mean, I can't wait to get in person because, well, for one, I want to get out of these four walls, but also I just love, getting to see people. And I think when you see people in person, it just, to sit down with somebody and, just have a casual conversation, it's just so nice to make that personal connection. But you're right, it definitely opens the door, and we're getting to hear from so many people, so many different people, speakers from all around the world who are experts in their area that normally we wouldn't have the opportunity to hear from unless we traveled. So yeah, it's in that sense, you always have to look at the silver lining, right?
Absolutely, totally agree. I don't think anyone can deny that what's gone on in the world over the last 15, 16 months has been horrific, but, we have to like you said, silver linings and things like that. And when something good comes of it, I think we should acknowledge that. So totally agree with you. And I guess one of the things, and this has become a little bit of a trope in the show, I can't even believe I'm going to do this, but one of the things that it has also empowered me to do is ask people from all around the world, no matter where they're from, which is the better film, Terminator 1 or Terminator 2? And I put that question to you.
At least you're not asking if it's a Christmas movie or something like that. I'm going to be the total boring person here because I don't care about either one of them.
Oh, second guest in a row to say that.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I've been on Netflix binges and Hulu binges, and I've been watching all the different series lately. I recently watched Queen's Gambit, and I love
it.
Oh, so good.
Brilliant.
I was a little nervous. I was like, I don't know. I'm not into chess, but yeah, it was really good. So I really liked that. And then I am big into documentaries too. So I love just watching random documentaries and yeah. But Terminator 1, Terminator 2, I'm sorry, I can't break the tie. What about the two of you?
Oh, I think I'm a 2 person. I'm not sure. I think it's a 2 person.
Yeah, likewise.
Here,
likewise. We've had majority 2 so far. We had one dissenting vote from who it was Kat, wasn't it? Kat Green. And when she was on, she likes number 1 the best, but she liked it because it's a horror film at its core, really, and she likes horror films. So that's cool. We're going to have to start keeping a tally on this. We'll do it in Microsoft Lists in Teams.
Yeah,
that's what we'll do. And we'll add a column for 1, 2, or don't know, don't care.
Yeah.
But how good was Queen's Gambit, though? I loved it so much. What a show! I mean, I'm a binge watcher myself. We've got all the streaming services. We've got Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, the lot, and I just love it so much. My wife's been watching something which she tells me I need to watch with Kate Winslet in it called Mayor of Easttown. It's meant to be really good. So
I've seen that one. Okay, I'll have to look at it.
Have to check that out. But there's something for everyone, and it's so easy to consume content now, isn't it? And
I got rid of
so many. It's hard to keep up.
It's true. I know. You have like in your notes on your phone, like all the shows that you see. Oh, you have to watch this. I'm like, okay, I got to write that on my list.
Yeah, everyone's got a show that that they tell you about. You must watch this, and it's just finding the time. Finding the time is half the battle. But our last guest last week was Jan Bakker, another MVP, really great guy in the Netherlands, and he's a massive Friends fan. And is that something that you love, Laurie?
I was huge Friends. I used to record it on the VCR. And the other one was Seinfeld. I'm also a big Seinfeld fan and hadn't watched it in years. And last week, I started watching a few of the Seinfeld episodes, and I was laughing out loud by myself. And I was like, I love this show. I need to start watching it.
I love Seinfeld too.
90s.
Yeah, because I had never seen it either, and then it was on Amazon Prime briefly, so I had to and Amazon does this thing where it tells you how long is left on Amazon Prime, so it says this is leaving in 2 weeks, so I had to watch it all very, very quick. But yeah, I love Seinfeld.
So annoying.
Yeah. The worst is when it comes up and says, "Are you still watching?"
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But
teams should do something like that. If a Teams meeting goes on for more than 3 hours, it just pops up and says, "Do you still need to be in this meeting?"
5-minute warning,
you get that now, don't you? Yeah, 5-minute warning, which everyone ignores.
You can tell when the speaker sees it, and then they
start panicking.
But I was so excited today to see that the Friends reunion show is on. So I've started watching a bit of that earlier tonight. I'm going to catch the end a bit later if I can stay awake, but if not tomorrow. So it was really cool seeing that whole cast back together after all these years. It just seems so insane that it was so long ago. The 1994 till 2004 it ran, and I think of the 90s as like maybe 10 years ago, but it's not. It's 30 years ago. It's just scary.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, Laurie, I'm very conscious that you were taking up so much of your valuable time, but it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us while you've got the time today?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun talking to both of you, and Ruth, nice to meet you for the first time, and Peter,
yes, you too.
As always. I would say just a big thank you to everybody in the community, and just even our customers and partners, everybody who may be tuning in from the team's product group. We've had a big year, and we've had a successful year, but we've had a lot of challenges too. And I just want to thank everybody for sticking with us and believing in us and really doing everything to help us be successful, because we can't do it alone. And so everything that people are doing to train people and teach people and share their experiences is really important. And then also sharing with us feedback and letting us know how we can continue to be successful. So thank you so much from all of us.
Oh, thank you as well. We love what you're doing. It's absolutely brilliant to be along for the ride. It's a privilege. It's a pleasure. And if anyone wants to reach out to you or find you, where can they come and contact you?
Sure. I'm on Twitter, Laurie Pottmeyer. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, which I am about to update. I am so embarrassed that it's so out of date. We're actually having a Women in Teams session coming up in a couple of weeks with a gal who's going to teach us how to improve our LinkedIn profiles. So I'm very excited about that. Yes. And then also you can email me anytime, Laurie P, LAURIEP at Microsoft.com.
Amazing. We appreciate it so much, Laurie. Rue, do you want to take this one home and put episode 9 to bed? I think it's 9.
It is 9. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Laurie, for joining us. We'll put all the links to finding Laurie in the show notes, and I'll link to Women in Teams as well, so that anyone listening can sign up and join that. So thanks everyone, and thank you, Pete and Laurie, for talking to me tonight. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Amazing. We'll catch you next time. Bye.